Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Triple G, this time with another Warframe video. In this video, I'll be talking about the 5 worst Helmith abilities. The 5 worst Helmith abilities that are coming from Warframes. And they are the least infused. It's the least ones that people use, and for a reason, of course. I'll be going from the 5 to the first, to the one that it's used less. So let's get into it. Number 5, we have Baruch's Lul. The problem with Baruch's Lul, in my opinion, is that the stats are skewed, because this is an AoE, it's an area of effect, that lasts on the ground 5 seconds and then puts the enemies to sleep for 20 seconds. I would rather have that reversed, be something that I put on the ground for 20 seconds, and each enemy that gets in, it goes to sleep maybe during 5 seconds, or in 5 seconds it's put to sleep. I don't know why they made the ability like this, being an AoE. If it was a wave that he threw in front of him, that would make more sense, because it's something that I could target to a specific enemy. I would just throw at it, and in 5 seconds he'll be asleep, and then I could do maybe damage or finishers. But instead, they decided to reverse it. I don't like the way it is. It is useful in some cases, but most of the time you want an AoE to be stable, to be in one place at all time, like putting in bottlenecks or defending certain objectives, instead of but the way the ability is right now, you have to keep spamming it. So yeah, I don't like the way it is. I think if people want to use it more, it should be reversed. It should be an area of effect that whenever somebody walks in 5 seconds, it's put to sleep, and then while the area is active, while those 20 seconds, the target is put to sleep. That's how I'll change it. I think it's a really simple thing to do. Maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't. They probably won't. Next is Limbo's Banish. And oh boy, do we hate Limbo. I don't. I'm a Limbo main. I love Limbo. I absolutely love him. Now, this is something that was brought up when they did the rework, which is something that I also brought up, which is Banish. Now, it's good, but Stasis is better. And you always use both. You always use Stasis. The great gimmick about Limbo, thanks to Rebecca, because she was watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and she saw this ability and thought, oh, it'd be nice to put this in the game. She just didn't realize it was a god ability, because stopping time is really a god ability. So Stasis is just its thing. It's just Limbo's thing is Stasis. It's not Banish, it's Stasis. So to have Banish as a first and not have Stasis, it makes little sense to me. I would rather that Banish and Stasis be the same, especially now that it's an infused ability. When you give someone a Banish, it immediately makes them stop. That's it. That's the gimmick. You have enemies in front of you, but if you're going to objective, you throw in Banish and immediately stops them in place. You can't do damage to it, but they can't do damage to you either. So it's just a freezing ability, basically. Now, if this was done in Limbo in his usual abilities, they will probably have to change his second to something else. He already has damage boost with Surge, which is his third. So, I don't know, something that maybe boosts his armor, depending on the people that are affected by Banish, because his armor is good, but it's not great. Something that heals over time, so that you can, synergize it with Cataclysm. You can put Cataclysm down, stop people will get into Cataclysm. They already get energy, so maybe they could have health, while Limbo gets health and armor. Maybe something like that. But, it's really one of those. It can't be something too overpowerful, as, he's already a god, so he can't go any higher than that. Next, we have Loki's Decoy. And oh boy, do I hate this ability. The only time I use this ability is when I'm doing vaults, which, like I said, if you're doing spy vaults, it's really useful. It's a teleport. It's basically used as a teleport. But it's not useful anywhere else. You put the decoy down, it dies immediately, and it doesn't do anything better than a Spectre. So how I would change decoy was, for each damage that the decoy has, you get a damage buff. He has augments that already do a little bit of this. Damage that you take is transferred to the decoy, and vice versa. I don't know why this is vice versa. I don't want damage from the decoy to come to me. Why would I want a thing like that? But if I put a decoy down and the damage that he gets transferred to me as a boost, that'll be really good. Because, you know, Loki is one of the best, but in doing damage, he is not. I mean, he takes advantage of his invisibility to kill enemies, but he's not that powerful. He's not really that powerful. So I would change it so that the decoy becomes part of his kit, and it also, if I could go even further, I would put in more than one decoy. You know, you can put decoys instead of being just one, putting different ones, maybe up to 3, because I mean, Mirage has 4. Wukong already has his 1. Sighting also has 1, which was a lot better with Molten all. And he doesn't. He basically creates a reflection of it himself, like a mirror that gets broken, and that's it. He has no benefit, unless of course you're doing switch teleport, which I think it should be a real teleport. You shouldn't rely on switch. So yeah, if I would change his entire kit, that's what I would do. I'd put him like decoy, giving him a buff of damage. Teleport would not need a decoy target. It could be just a teleport. You could do it to enemies to do a switch teleport, but if you didn't have enemies, you can just teleport yourself a little bit of a distance. I mean, it's not like Nova, because Nova has a really big range. This will be just a switch. This will be such a small spy invasion gimmick like. But I would make the damage buff synergize with his 4th, with his disarm, because right now disarm doesn't do any damage. I mean, the weapons just disappear on the hands of the enemies, and they pull up their knives, and that's it. I mean, I think it needed more. So what I would do is make the weapons explode. The weapons would explode on the enemy's hands, thus giving blast damage. That blast damage would be increased by the buff that you get from damage from the decoy, and once you use that, the damage goes to 0. The damage buff goes to 0. So you'd put on your decoy or decoys. They'll build up your damage. You can use it with your weapons regularly, but if you activate radial damage, it does blast damage on all the weapons that the enemies are carrying, blowing them in their faces, and then those who survive then pull down their knives and come after you. I think it'll be really good, because one of the things that really is really missing in Loki is a damage. It's just damage. You know, you can get places really easy. You can go places really fast. You can kill enemies reasonably fast. I mean, depends on the weapon. But he doesn't have any AoE. So to increase his kit, to make him not just so directional to infiltration, have some kind of real punch output. Disarm, having an explosive disarm in it, so to speak. Now on number 2, we have Hydroid's Tempest Barrage. Tempest Barrage is, in my opinion, not a terrible ability. It's not a terrible ability, especially if you count in Corrosive Barrage with the augment. So you can just deplete the armor of everybody around you and kill them a whole lot faster. That said, when you use it with a lot of strength, and even just a little bit of strength, the ability does impact damage. And what did this do? This does ragdoll. So the enemy falls down, then he gets ragdoll, and many times he just leaves the area where the droplets or the rain is falling. And that's no bueno. That's no bueno. I don't like that it does that. I would change the ability. I mean, the ability right now, when you charge it, it increases the area, just like his 4th. I would change particularly that. I would make it so that when you charge it, the area where the water is going to fall is actually smaller. It can become so small that it becomes powerful. You know, like like Valven has that Meteor Smash, and Ember has that Inferno that drops a lot of them. I'm not saying to drop a lot of them. I'm just saying to drop 1. And by reducing the area, you can increase its impact, which would either kill the enemy or open him up to finishers in that small area. It wouldn't be a single target thing, but it would be a smaller area where, a torrent of water would just fall, and the enemies would be either kill or open the enemy to finishers. They would only get ragdoll if they died. That's the only time they were ragdoll. This will still work with the augment. You can still have corrosive damage, because if you just use the ability with tap, the area where the rain would fall, and it will fall just like rain, it'll be just looking just like rain, it would still do the corrosive 100% corrosive status. So you can use it with with the augment to do that, or you can shrink it down to give one burst of water to a smaller area that will do a lot more damages. It would either kill the enemy or leave him open to finish. I think it would work a lot better, and it wouldn't change a lot of his kit, because if I'm going to talk about Hydra's kit, I'd be an hour talking about how it should change, and I'm not going to get in it. Like I said, he's also one of my favorites, like Limbo, but he has, what can I say? He has disadvantages on his kit. So to make the kit more solid, that's one thing that I'll do. I'll put Tempest Barrage being a thing that, you know, instead of that you would shrink the area. It'll be like rain first, smaller area will be like droplets, smaller area it'll be like this burst, like the Valben has, like Meteor Smash. I think it will work well in this kit. I think it will make a lot of the Hydro players happy, and it would work a lot better. Has an infused ability, you know, to have this bowl of water, or this turns of water falling and opening enemies to finish it. I think it will work real well. Now, lastly, number 1, the last infused ability in the Helmith system coming from Warframes is Necrosterify. And Necrosterify is horrible. That's all I gotta say. It's a horrible ability. Unless you're doing like mobile defense, maybe. It doesn't really do anything. It just puts the enemy running away from you. You don't want the enemy to run for you. You want him to funnel in some place so you can kill them. The augment does make them run slower, 60% slower, 30% slower, something like that. But they're still running away from you, and you don't want that. You want something that benefits you against the enemy. So what I would do, first of all, I would change the augment to be something that absolutely terrifies. I mean, it's called Terrify. So what you do when you're terrified, you freeze. You freeze. That's what you do. You freeze. So I would put the augment to do a little bit of what stasis does. Of course, it wouldn't be as long because stasis can be modified to have long duration. This will just be like, I don't know, 5, 10 seconds, 8 seconds, where the enemy would be just frozen solid. It would be frozen in place, and you could just kill them. The thing that I would do without the augment for Terrify is to give some kind of debuff to the enemy. My idea would be to give like 50% reduction in health. I mean, something really powerful, something that will really make Terrify be Terrify. I mean, it could be for a short while. You could expand it maybe to a couple of seconds. It wouldn't be something like you couldn't do for 30 seconds in the area. It'll be something that when you do, enemies that around you are affected, and then you can kill them as fast as you can, like with Petrify or not. The ability would have the advantage that if you do, for instance, if you do slash procs and it begins to tick, after a while it stops ticking, of course. So what you would do is you could give some slash procs, then activate Terrify, and because the reduction of health goes to 50, they would die a lot faster or immediately. Of course, you would have to play around with the duration a little bit, because after a while the energy would go back up. Of course, it wouldn't be like 50% for the entire time, because that would be just game breaking. But you know, 50% reduction for a period of time. I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds, maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. I'm not a dev. I don't have the data to tell you anything. But if it did that, plus with Petrify, it'll be something that people really want to use and really works well with the Necroscript, which is terror, which is death. So yeah, that's how I would change it. You do Terrify, they get either with the augments petrified and with health reduction, or they just get a health reduction, and you can just kill them all a lot faster. So that's it. That's how I would change these 5 abilities. Mind you, 3 of these Warframes I play a lot with them, which is Limbo, Loki, and Hydroid. Loki, I think everybody plays with it because I think he's like the #1 used frame in the game, at least from people who play a long time, like, you know, so-called veterans. I also like Baruch a lot. I don't play with him as much as I would like because, you know, his kit is very one-dimensional. It's all about his fourth. But yeah, that's what I would do. Please let me know in the comment section what you think, if you think it will work. If it wouldn't, how would you change it? And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And as always, have a great game, guys.